Yo, how's it going, everybody? It's MacklinGaming, and so far in 2024, we're about halfway through, and Nintendo's only released, a few good games, I think, this year. Last year, they had a big release with Tears of the Kingdom, and they had Pikmin 4. They had a lot of good releases, but I think this year, it's been mostly remasters and remakes because, they have the next console coming out soon, maybe next year, and I'm pretty sure their first-party studios are just trying to build those games for the next console. And there won't be much more coming out for the Switch as far as like major first party games goes, except hopefully Metroid Prime 4. Like, where is that? Please show that at the next direct. But there was one remake I really wanted to pick up, and it came out late last month, so I've been playing it and I just beat it, and that was Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door. It's an incredible little RPG that came out on the GameCube 20 years ago, and I think it still holds up today. Even with the remastered artwork and art style, I think it looks amazing. And the only problem people are complaining about is that it's down to 30 frames per second instead of 60 like it was on the GameCube, if you can believe it. But really, 30 FPS on a handheld Switch is like totally fine. You can't really tell on the handheld. If you play a game that's 30 FPS on a TV with your Switch docked, I understand it's going to be a little bit lame. But the 30 FPS in handheld mode is like not a problem at all. So I played majority of Paper Mario in 30 FPS handheld mode, and it was perfect, flawless frame rate. There's no dips whatsoever. So I really don't complain about the 30 when it used to be 60. Like, that doesn't bother me. Paper Mario RPG is a classic game that's very different from other Mario games. If you're used to playing, Super Mario, whether it's 3D or 2D, you're usually platforming and you're jumping around and jumping on enemies, and that's pretty much it for the combat. It's more about the collecting stars or moons and just enjoying the levels and the platforming there. But in Paper Mario, this is like a true RPG. You have turn-based battles, and you have mostly a story-focused game, and you have stats and leveling up, and you can allocate your stats for like different builds of Mario and in different playthroughs, not really in the same playthrough. But you also find like NPC friends along the way, and they fight with you as allies, and they have abilities. So it's very RPG like, and I think it's a great entry RPG to people who have like never really played that genre of games, or they're new to gaming. So if you have like a boyfriend or girlfriend that you want to get into gaming or get into RPGs, I think Paper Mario: Thousand Year Door is a great entry RPG game. So first off, the art design, it's a 3D game, but you've got these 2D cardboard cutout art styles of Mario and Luigi and every character model in the game and every like building. It's like all this 2D cardboard cutout type of art style, which, Paper Mario has been around for years. And when I was growing up, I just never really got into that. I never played a Paper Mario game. I didn't think the art style was that interesting, but on the Switch, it's a different story. I mean, it looks so nice now, and the graphics and the visuals, the way they upgraded it, look amazing. But when it starts out, Peach sends like a letter to Mario, and she wants to find some treasure, and she wants to get Mario involved and like help her find the treasure. And so they go to this city called Rogueport, which is not the Mushroom Kingdom. It's like a completely different, it's a much more like grounded in reality type city. There's, like thievery and shady conspiracies going on, and there's all these goofy, quirky characters that you meet. And long story short, Peach gets lost and captured, and which is pretty classic for Mario games. But the way that they play it out in this one is very funny and interesting. Like, the game has great humor. There's really funny dialogue, and it's like, it's appropriate for all age humor, but it's still really good. So you go around as Mario having to look for Peach, and you get a bunch of allies with you. And when you fight in turn-based combat with your allies, each ally has like an ability that they can use in battle, and they can also use it outside of battle in the overworld when you're like trying to solve puzzles and get through to the next area of the game. The abilities are really helpful and useful for you to reach a place that you haven't been able to reach before. But you're also able to use the abilities in combat, and most importantly, Mario has two abilities himself in combat where he can do like two different kinds of attacks. He attacks with a big hammer, which I don't know where they got that from. Like maybe they borrowed that from Donkey Kong, the original. So Mario's got a hammer to attack with, and he has his classic jump attack still where you can jump on top of enemies and do damage to them. But this is all in like a turn-based format, and so it's you and your ally, and it's 2v whatever, 1, 2v3, 2v5, however many enemies you're going up against. But so besides those two basic attacks that Mario has, and your character and your NPC allies like ability and attack, Mario also has like a special gauge where if you fill up that special by doing like stylish versions of your attacks and stuff, you can get even more powerful special attacks, which are really useful in taking out tough enemies. So that's pretty much how the combat goes. And every time you level up after defeating so many enemies, Mario has 3 different facets or aspects of his character that he can upgrade. So you have your health, you have FP, which is like magic in this game, which allows you to perform like more tough abilities and like harder attacks. And then you have badges, which are really cool. They're like the perk system in this game where each badge gives Mario a little bit of a buff or like a little bit of a perk, and you can switch and swap out the different badges to do like to build Mario in different ways. And so every time you level up, you can only pick one of those 3 things to increase your health or increase your magic, your FP, or how many badges you can really equip at once. So you have to be careful with that. I highly recommend you make sure you get a lot of health. Like by finishing the game, I had 80 health, and that was barely enough. I had to heal a lot in the final battle, and I had to find ways to heal doing specials and items. There's also, items that heal you and attack and do damage. So, that last boss battle is really no joke, by the way. It's tough. So as far as the combat goes and the leveling up, I think it's really an interesting and addicting little RPG there. As far as the story goes, Mario kind of goes from town to town looking for Peach, and he runs into like new allies and new townsfolk that need his help, and each little area is a very interesting and different, like unique story there. So like there's one where you have to do a whodunit mystery thing on a train, which is really cool. And there's one where Mario enters like a battle arena. And I don't know, that one's really funny because a bunch of the other fighters and people start calling him Gonzalez all of a sudden. So Mario's just like fighting people and moving up the ranks, and everyone's like, Gonzalez, you're the man. It's so goofy. But the humor is great in this game, and it's just like wholesome, and it can be funny, it can be challenging, but I think it's a great little entry RPG. There's not many negatives I can say about the game, except I think there's a lot of backtracking, which they try to make it like a simple RPG experience in the way that you move through the game. Like you have Rogueport City, which is like your hub world, and then you go from like town to town or whatever the location is, and then you have to like just come back to Rogueport and then go down into the Thousand-Year Door and interact with, and then go to the next place, go down to the door, come back. It's like it's very kind of repetitive in the backtracking that you do, but it's still a very interesting experience. And like I think Rogueport is interesting enough to have it be the hub city where you always come back to in between your little questing. As far as Paper Mario Thousand-Year Door goes, I think I'd give it like a solid 8 out of 10. I can understand how people give it a 9. Most people give it like a 9 out of 10. For me, I played tons of RPGs, and I think there's a lot of better RPG. Like I can't really put it at 9 with like so many other amazing games that I played, but it's like right under there. I think it's just like an 8.5. So really great RPG. Tough boss battles late in the game, so you better be ready with health and however you allocated your stats. But if you're looking for just like a fun, wholesome game this summer that's like a great little RPG story with good humor, you've never played RPGs before and you want to play one, I think this would be a great first RPG to play. It's a really funny little wholesome game, and it's got some challenging combat as well in there at some point. So I highly recommend Paper Mario Thousand Year Door. What do you guys think? Have you played the original on GameCube? Are you going to pick up the Nintendo Switch version? You know, they kind of made a bunch of physical copies and then all of a sudden we're like, that's it. No more. Like somehow the physical copies of this game on Switch are pretty limited. So I picked one up myself. But let me know down below what you think about Paper Mario Thousand Year Door. Leave a like, subscribe. I appreciate you guys a lot. And I'll see you in the next video. Peace.